Okay, can we call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to the May regular meeting of the Green Castle School Board. First thing on the agenda tonight is adjustments to the agenda. Mr. Gibney.
Yep, I don't have any adjustments to the agenda tonight.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is public comments regarding tonight's agenda items. Are there any public comments regarding the agenda this evening? Okay, hearing none. Next item on the agenda is recognitions, Mr. Gibney.
Yep, so if we want to start with Mrs. Muncie and Deer Meadow.
Good evening. For our May Student of the Month, we have Rosie Nip and her teacher, Mrs. Weeks. She said Rosie will be a second grader Deer Meadow teachers, staff, and students will miss. Okay. Her heart of gold, helping hand, and kind nature will take her far in this world. Rosie is a dependable student who brings a smile to anyone's face and spreads cheer and kindness to all. I'm so thankful to be her teacher this year. And this morning at PLC, when Mr. McHugh was announcing who our Student of the Month was, every teacher had something positive to say about Rosie and how she is so helpful to everyone. So let's give her a round of applause.
I switched the order this month on you, Mrs. Johnson, so now up for Red Path.
Keeping me on my toes.
Yep.
Redpath has 2 students. We would like to first celebrate our April Student of the Month as he's making his way here. Clayton, come stand right here, buddy. This is Clayton Fleshman, and he was nominated by 2 teachers in the building. His classroom teacher, Mrs. Miller, states that Clayton has been working very hard at home and at school. He has made strong academic gains. He has improved in spelling and reading. Mrs. Seaver states that she is very proud of the effort Clayton has put into his school. His progress shows just how hard he has been working. So congratulations, Clayton. Our May Student of the Month is Ryder Wright. Ryder has matured tremendously. He was nominated by his classroom teacher, Mrs. Dibble, who is sitting over there. He has shown an excellent work ethic, and he's also grown in collaboration with his peers. Ryder is often seen talking calmly within his peer groups. His problem-solving skills have increased for the best solution or outcome. Ryder celebrates and praises his peers. She is very proud of him. So congratulations, Ryder.
So TZ's Student of the Month is Mr. Cooper Landry. Cooper is a 3rd grade student in Mrs. Terry's class. And Mrs. Terry says about Cooper, he is a kind and compassionate young man. He has a big heart and a strong passion for sports. IU, not Purdue, so he's on my list, but that's okay. His great personality and sense of humor are also two qualities that make him so likable to both staff and classmates. Mrs. Terry says, congratulations, she was not able to be here. Something else about Cooper that I think everybody should know is that he is a very quick thinker, and he is quick on his feet. A few weeks ago, we had a situation in his classroom where a student became upset at the teacher, and Cooper did not hesitate to run from the room to the office to get assistance for his teacher and to make sure that everybody was safe in his room, and that the student that was upset got to talk about his needs, and Cooper just reached out and made sure that again, that his teacher and his classmates were safe. And so he got this honor for both being likable and also being very responsible. So congratulations to Cooper.
Good evening. Our student of the month is Ella Tischer. And Mrs. Meyer says Ella is a kind and inquisitive student who is a pleasure to work with. She asks thoughtful questions and always has a kind expression or word to share with others. Mrs. Isaac says Ella is honest in the truest sense of integrity, taking responsibility for her actions. On days she had to use online school, she worked hard to make sure her work was complete. Best of all, Ella always remembers who she is, no matter whom she's around. She's true to herself always. Congratulations, Ella.
At the high school, our student of the month is Olivia Monnet. And I am Olivia's English teacher, and I wrote this. This is for you. Olivia tries hard at everything she does. During class discussion, she always puts herself out there and isn't afraid to share her ideas, even if she isn't sure about her answer. Every day she tries her best, and she encourages her classmates to do the same. And she pushes herself to tackle challenges and doesn't give up when it gets difficult. She adds so much positive energy to everyone's morning in our class. I've been so lucky to have Olivia as a student this year. Congratulations.
And then we have a couple of other recognitions at the high school. Mrs. Phillips.
Good evening. I'm here to recognize a couple of outstanding science fair projects students have completed. The first person is not able to be here is Casey Crary. He again qualified for the state science fair, which is no small feat. He also was awarded third place by the American Statistics Association. His project had to do with the correlation between risky behavior and future drug use with students using CDC data. The other student I have to present here is Maisha Rashid. She not only qualified for state science fair, but this year she qualified for the International Science and Engineering Fair, which is just an outstanding accomplishment. And not only did she qualify for the International Science Fair, she interviewed for special awards and won honorable mention from the the American Statistics Association, which she also won an award at state for first place, which was a $500 award. And I'm going to let her speak for just a few minutes about our project.
Oh gosh, okay. All right, hello, good evening. My name is Maisha Rashid, and for my science fair project, I also analyzed a CDC survey, and that survey basically looked at children. It asked adults about questions about their childhood, about instances they went through, such as abuse, neglect, etc., etc. So things that are probably some of the worst experiences a child could have, and then their later life health implications. And overall, what I found is that children who went through emotional, physical abuse were often likely to experience negative health outcomes in the future. Also, this isn't necessarily related to my project, but I do want to give a big shout out to Mrs. Phillips. Last year, I had a goal to get to the International Science Fair, and I didn't get there, which is fine. I mean, it's a big goal. And I was just about to give up this year until a conversation was like, I might do it this year. And Mrs. Phillips just gave me that little nudge, and she helped me achieve one of my biggest high school goals. So thank you, Mrs. Phillips. Couldn't have done it without you.
Thank you. It's a really amazing time, great time to be a Greencastle Tiger Cub, from the science fair to our Students of the Month to our state championship, math bowl team, science team, to the over $80,000 in local scholarships. There's a lot of great things taking place here in the classrooms, on the athletic fields, just all the way around. So thank you to our students and teachers and coaches and everybody and parents for supporting our kids in these endeavors. We set up the photo backdrop out in Parker Lobby. Everyone is more than welcome to stay for the full meeting, but I understand if you have little ones on a school night, you might need to get home. By all means, feel free to do what you need to do, but again, you're welcome to stay and attend the rest of the meeting as well.
That always sends them out, doesn't it?
Not you, Mr. Wilson. You have to stay.
Okay, well, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, which consists of the meeting minutes from April 26th, the regular board meeting, and the allowance of claims and financial report. Mrs. Romer.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Okay, first in your packet, for the finance packet, you'll see a couple of payrolls. The first payroll was dated April 9th, 2021, for a total payroll of $383,061. Along with that payroll came some accounts payable. Again, that would be for payroll taxes and payroll taxes and retirement. Total on that accounts payable for the April 9th payroll, $107,058.33. The second payroll for April was dated April 23rd, 2021, for a total payroll of $418,632.26. Along with that payroll came the accounts payable for taxes and retirement. Total accounts payable, $116,980.36. Did anyone have any questions about the payrolls for April? Okay, we'll just go ahead and move on to some prepays. That should be next in your packet, dated April 1 through April 30th, 2021. There's really nothing unusual on here. Did anyone have any questions about any prepays this month? No? Okay. Total prepays for the month of April 2021, $354,416.50. And then lastly, for the claims for April, will be dated today, May 24th, 2021. If I could, I'm just going to point out a couple to you. On the first page, it would be voucher number 406 to Cloverdale Community Schools. And once again, that would be pertaining to the GEAR grant. That would be for mobile hotspots, that type of thing. Greencastle Schools is the LEA to help file reimbursements for all the Putnam County schools. So that would be why we've got something for Cloverdale. You'll also see on voucher number 410 for CSI leasing, that would be a device payment, which would be once a year, and that's for the Deer Meadow and the Ridpath iPads. And then the final one that is not something normal would be voucher number 428 to Hendricks Regional Health. That would be for the athletic trainer. We actually pay that 4 times a year, and this would be for winter services that we're paying to Hendricks. Did anyone have any questions about regular claims?
I do not.
No? Okay, so regular claims dated today, May 24th, 2021, for a total of $321,991.27. And if we're ready for the finance report?
Sure.
Okay. Next in your board packet, you'll see a fund report. This would be month end for, April month end, 2021 balances for all accounts. Balance in educational as of April 30th, 2021, $866,712.66, or 68 cents. Operations would be Fund 300. Balance the end of April 2021, $619,300.35. If you turn to the last page, you're going to see total for all accounts. Fund balance for all accounts, $5,069,746.57. And lastly, in your finance packet, you should see the depository statement. Balance for all banks is $5,273,603.77. Outstanding checks as of the end of April 2021, $203,857.20. For a total fund balance in all accounts, $5,069,746.57. If you match that number against the ending balance for your fund report, you'll see that those match perfectly.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last item on the consent agenda is personnel reports part 1 and 2, which are online and posted on the door to central office. So can I get a?
Nope. Sorry? Yep, I'm sorry. I thought there was another thing.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is reports. First from the Assistant Superintendent, Dr. French.
Hi, good evening.
Good
So I thought
evening.
I would give you an update. I know last time I talked a little bit about summer school, so just to keep you updated with that, since we are doing it so differently with our Jumpstart program, so K-8, Jumpstart will happen at the beginning of the school year, right before school starts. So from July 19th through the 30th, students will come half day to get instruction in programming that way. And so right now we're projecting about 100 students from K-8. So that's a really good turnout. We're hoping to see all those students attend that. And then I also wanted to give you an update about our after-school program. I know we've been discussing quite a bit. So we're working on planning and staffing that program right now. But I'm really excited because we had some good conversations this past week with DePaul University, who's going to be our major partner in this program. So we're going to be partnering with the School of Music through DePaul, and they're going to provide their music majors are going to come to our site, and at least 3 days a week, hopefully 5 days a week, they're going to provide music instruction or music exploration for our K-3 students, and then for our students in grades 4 and 5. They're going to be able to revive the strings program and provide violin lessons with the ultimate long-term goal of creating a community children's orchestra, strings orchestra. So that's a long-term plan. But it's great to start having those conversations and kind of reviving some of those programs. We've had 40 violins sitting in the closet and 80 down sitting on the square. So there's all these instruments, we have these resources that we haven't been able to actually utilize. So we're excited to get those going. We're also partnering with the Hartman Center for Civic Engagement. I believe that's a wordy title. I believe that's it though. So they're going to be filtering their volunteers into our program. So anyone that gets a scholarship through DePaul is required to fulfill so many volunteer hours. So we're going to scoop up their volunteers and we're going to pair those with some of our students for tutoring. And we're also going to prepare them or pair them with a high risk or a high needs student for weekly mentoring sessions. So I'm going to ask the principals too to help identify some of those students that could use that extra support and pair them with a university student. And then we're also going to be busing our students once a week to Elite Skyhawks Gymnastics for gymnastics and ninja programming. So we're developing a lot of really cool activities that are gonna really set our program apart, along with trying to, build in reading instruction and STEM activities and things like that along the way. So we're really excited about this and can't wait to get it all staffed and ready to go, but continue that planning throughout the summer. So any questions, and I'll just try to keep you guys updated as things emerge.
Okay,
Sounds great.
great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next is the superintendent report.
Yep, so I just have a few items. Obviously, first, I'd like to thank all of our staff and all the departments across the board for making it through the 2020-2021 school year. I know we're 2 days out, but I think that's quite the feat, and I think we've been pretty successful in having a school year, and hearing many of the accomplishments that have been shared, and with the culmination of the students' last day on Wednesday, and then graduation on Friday night, which is always one of the most enjoyable times of the year. So thank you to all of our staff members who are leaving and those who are also retiring. Thanks for your service to our students and staff. In your board packets, I included a couple of items for your review. One of them, which is on the normal size paper right there, was just a financial review, and the one underneath your packet was a financial review and presentation that I gave, a state of the overall finances to the entire school district, just kind of update them on where we are and what we have to continue to do in order to get to where we want to be. And so that was just a very good, informative meeting, and I think that was appreciated by staff. So I just wanted to kind of see kind of what knowledge was shared with the rest of our staff. And then I included some cash flow summaries for the Education Fund and Operations Fund. And so just through the first 4 months of the year, we're continuing to kind of make progress and kind of dig ourselves out of the hole that we were in. Our spending plan is right on track with where we need to be for the 2021 budget year. Cash balance has grown roughly $25,000 since January. We obviously want to see that continue to grow more to get to where we need to be. That can kind of be artificially inflated somewhat because we transferred some staff salaries out of the education fund, and we're paying for roughly $400,000 worth of education fund expenditures out of rainy day this year. But we are making progress and chipping away at it. Overall, for the year to date, compared to the end of April in 2020, expenditures are roughly $250,000 less. So while we know our revenue also went down, we've right-sized with our expenditures too, and those things are all key to helping us to recover and build that 10 to 15% cushion in the education fund. So we're on track with that. A little bit less on the operations fund side. Again, just cash flow summary. Year to date this time versus calendar year 2020, we're even and right on track. Year to date revenue is up, but we're doing our monthly. That can be a little bit misleading because we're making our transfer every month this school year rather than in quarterly installments. But overall, budget expenditures for this entire year were 3.1% under where we typically would kind of benchmark for our total appropriation. So overall, we're continuing to kind of make progress, and all of those adjustments are helping with that. So just wanted to bring that information to your attention.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is old business, and we have no old business, which brings us to new business. And the first item on new business is an approval request for some resolutions. Do we do all these all at once, or you read them off individually?
It's up to you. How would you prefer? I can give you the kind of the laydown of what they are, and you can vote on them individually or all together. It doesn't matter
Let's
to me.
just do it all together.
Okay, so this is for the $32 million building project. And so the first resolution determining the need for the project, this is something that's required by school leasing statute. The board must determine that there's a need for the project. The second one is the resolution reapproving the building corporation. And so in order for this, for the building corporation, a not-for-profit Indiana corporation, to issue tax-exempt bonds, the IRS requires that the school board reapprove the building corporation and authorize it to issue tax-exempt bonds on behalf of the school corporation. So one of the projects former ago, we're just essentially reutilizing that building corporation, and this is board action to reapprove them. The third item is the resolution approving form of the Second Amendment to lease, and the school corporation is funding this project through lease financing, as it is done with other past construction renovation projects. And lease financings are used by the school corporations across Indiana in order to borrow for renovation and construction. This type of financing does not count against the school corporation's constitutional debt allowance. The building is currently subject to a financing lease. Therefore, we're amending that lease to take the lease rental due from the school corporation. In exchange for the increased lease rental, the building corporation will use the bond proceeds to make the needed improvements to the building. The increased lease rental, as shown on the maximum amount in the Second Amendment to lease, will be sufficient to pay the principal and interest due to the bondholders. And then finally, the last one is the resolution awarding construction bids and contracts to building corporation once received. The building corporation currently owns a portion of Greencastle High School and McAnally Center. The building corporation will also be the issuer of the bonds, and the bond proceeds will be held by the trustee bank and will be used to pay the contractors for the work done on the building. As a result, the construction bids and contracts will need to be with the building corporation because the building corporation will hold the money to pay the contractors. The school corporation receives the bids and/or contracts and awards the bids and or contracts under state law, but then assigns those bids and or contracts to the building corporation. So these are all four of these resolutions are the next legal step in order to continue moving forward with the building project that has been discussed.
And all these resolutions were in our board packet too. I'm sure we read through. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Gibney about the resolutions?
No, I think the first one says it all for the need for the project, and there's clearly a need for the project, so.
Yeah, we've been working on this since September, October.
Yeah. Okay.
I make a motion to approve the resolutions.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve all four of the resolutions. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is an approval request for turf and track improvements.
Yep, so at this time, Mike, do you want to introduce Fred? And so,
thank you, Mike. So each of you have three pieces of paper that I set in front of you with Mr. Gibney. The first is a letter. I'm going to go through the summary of that. The second is a bid tabulation form or a quote form that summarizes numbers, and then the last is the pretty pictures. That's both front and back, so that's the graphics of what the facility itself would look like. We do appreciate the opportunity to be with you tonight. I'll speak briefly on the project itself, then take certainly any technical questions you may have. So as part of the design and engineering of both the track replacement and then the turf project, in this particular case, the track will be fully reconstructed. The current conditions are pretty suspect. The track's been recoated and surfaced several times. It's lived its useful life and it will come out. So we'll build back from the stone aggregate that's there, recompact and supplement that. You'll have an entirely new track profile, including all of the coatings and such that would go atop that. You'll also have a 4-foot perimeter fence that will be added around the outside of that to complete that facility. On the synthetic turf itself, it'll be a synthetic system that's got both the drainage layers, the subgrade, as well as all the carpet, if you will, that goes atop that. Very well drained. It'll take 16 inches an hour of water, if you want to think about that for a moment. It'll drain very, very well. And in the course of doing that reconstruction of that facility, we'll also be building new track and field events. So think long jump, high jump, discus, and shot. So all of those facilities will be new. So in summary, the quote tabulation form that, again, I mentioned to you, we received quotes today, at noon today. We invited 4 respondents to respond based upon a cooperative purchasing alliance, so a direct purchase program. 3 of those 4 respondents provided the numbers that you see. I'll take just a second to explain. The 4th respondent was Field Turf. They have declined to pursue. And we got a call from them today basically saying that the track coatings companies were indicating to them they may not be able to hold the finish date. So right now, the substantial completion date for your turf project would be September 1. The track would follow a month later on October 1. They did not want to be at risk for any liquidated damages or delays if their track coating subconsultants did not follow through. So they have simply respectfully declined to pursue. So with those particular quotes, I'll start with saying that the coaches and the administration was very actively involved in all of the details of what you'll receive. So the base project is the track and turf that I mentioned. Base project was a monofilament, and we'll get into the details of the turf, but it comes with a shock pad as well as that surfacing. The shock pad is intended to be for concussion protocol to mitigate any risks that would happen with the students making direct contact with the ground. So that shock pad was a mandatory part of that base quote, so that's inside of that. And then there were 4 alternate quotes that were asked for in that response. I'll go through those very, very briefly. The first was an extended warranty. Industry standard's 8 years. We've asked for a 2-year extension for a total of 10 years. I'll come back to that in a moment. The second alternate quote was for dual fiber, which is a blend of multiple fiber types that add both longevity as well as texture to create good ball roll for soccer. If any of you are familiar with synthetic fields, you know that the ball rolls really, really quickly. So we want to mitigate that particular issue. Third is an enhanced shock pad. I mentioned to you that I'd come back to the first one. The shock pad, they have both kind of like a small, medium, and large, or good, better, best. We have an entry-level shock pad that you have an opportunity to upgrade for a relatively limited cost. The reason that is important, I just mentioned a 10-year warranty on the carpet itself. The shock pad has a 20-year warranty. So that shock pad will be underneath your football field for 2 life cycles of carpet. So we want to make sure that we're making a good decision about the kinds of investment we make, because it needs to be just as effective 20 years from today as it is in this particular request. And then lastly, bonding. So performance and payment bonding are a typical part of a traditional construction bid. In this opportunity with a quote, we've gone through that purchasing alliance and added those as an enhancement. Again, I will take technical questions that you have around that, but suffice it to say our recommendation, working with the Kramer team and KRM, is to take all 4 of those alternates if the budget will allow, and you're so inclined to consider that. I think lastly, just very quickly, benchmarking this project, you have very competitive quotes. There certainly is a small premium. It'll be no surprise to any of you that construction prices and labor costs are skyrocketing and have been for the last 5 or 6 months. We do see about a 10 to 12% premium, and this number past what we were seeing bid in fall. That is far less than honestly I think I would have predicted. That premium is pretty mitigated. We did see aggressive quotes in that, as I mentioned before. And I think the spread you'll see is really tight. So having 3 numbers that close together, I think, is really indicative of how hard folks were pursuing being the constructor of your facility. And lastly, from my vantage point, just in what you might consider doing as a board, I think all 3 of these responses, again, are very, very good. I'm not sure that you could make a bad decision, and I think one of the things we should take a moment to understand is in a quote process with the Cooperative Purchasing Alliance, you're not obligated to take the low number we need to work as a team, both on this side of the fence and with you all, to come up with the best value. So thinking about reliability, the hitting deadlines, the sale after the service. So it's not just the lowest number that is necessarily the best bid. So with that in mind, we've done a lot of analysis on the bids received. We've worked with every single one of these respondents multiple times. From my vantage point, the recommendation that I would make to all of you is the Moats Group has been the most reliable in all facets of construction, service after the sale, and in warranty and repairs that need to be done over the period of the life of that carpet. Again, I don't think you'll make a bad decision, but if it were, again, a recommendation solely from my vantage point and my experiences, I would strongly encourage the Moats Group. Happy to take any questions the group may have.
A random quote, a question on alternate quote number 2 for the dual fiber. I noticed a couple of them are negative.
Yeah, it's a great question. So dual fiber is typically a little more expensive than the monofilament that we had in our base quote. And what's happened over the last few years is dual fiber has become such a predominant market share in the turf industry that the bidder said to us, look, we would have to literally stop the loom, retool it to run monofilament, and we're so busy, we have so many projects right now, the cost may actually be higher to slow that loom down and create a new system or create a new run of the monofilament. So we had a little bit of a heads up. They called on Friday and said, hey, this may look a little backward, but the reality is the market's busy.
So I'll add, I called around to athletic directors I know and spoke with some superintendents, and there definitely is a premium sometimes to go with the best in order to make sure that they stay on schedule and they're hitting all of their deadlines. And again, I would echo while they're all good vendors, the feedback I got was by a far and away the Moats Group was better at hitting all of those deadlines. They were organized, they were detail oriented, and were able to complete the process without hiccups. So my recommendation would be to select the Moats Group to move forwards with the project.
And this is lack of my knowledge, I apologize. Are these little balls on the turf? How's the turf constructed? I just don't know.
Yeah, so the turf is 3 layers. There's a drainage media, so aggregate that's larger stone that perks water. There's what's called a choker layer, a very thin layer, a very fine stone that makes that field billiard top smooth, literally laser graded smooth. And then the carpet sits right atop the shock pad. The shock pad will lay right on that fine stone. Carpet lays right atop that. It's pulled taut and nailed to a concrete curb that will go around that. Basically the inside of lane 1. Okay. We'd set both of those as part of the project.
Was all the warranties pretty much similar to, what each one of them about the same?
Yeah, terrific question. So we did actually make some phone calls today to make sure that there was parity within each of the warranties from the manufacturers, and we do have confirmation that is the case. One interesting thing about the warranties, so that 10-year warranty or 8-year if you don't choose that particular option, that is good for every day of the year, all year long. So if there is a tear, if there's a defect within that system, the respondent needs to come back out and make that repair for you. And I say that because you're not on the hook to do it in year 2 or 6 or 9. The warranty is baked into that quote. So they'll take care of that facility for the life of the facility.
Thank you.
There's really not that much difference, in the big scheme. So I guess if, Mike, you're looking for a motion, I would do the Moats Group with all 4 additions to it, would be my motion to accept that one.
Yeah, I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the Moats Group's bid. Any further questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you,
Sir?
and thanks to you all for your help as well.
Thank you, Fred. So,
Do we need something else on this, or?
no,
Okay.
we're good there.
Okay, next item on the agenda is an approval request for the 2021-2022 textbook rental and student fees.
Yep, so thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
As is customary this time of year, it's time to adopt and approve textbook rental and student fees for next year. I'd like to thank Dr. French for working with the building administrators to try to pare down some of our student fees and some of our costs for some of our courses. That's one of our goals, is to continue to kind of drop our textbook rental charges for our families, especially if you have more than one child. It can get pretty expensive, so we're actually using some of our federal stimulus dollars to kind of help support that effort, and we're going to pick up some of those costs so it doesn't cost our parents and families so much money. So a copy of those for approval are in your board packet, and it's my recommendation that the board approve these as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the textbook rental and student fees. Any discussion or questions?
The only question I have is, I think it's great that we're using some of those COVID dollars or to pay for some of this, which I think is great. But does that mean that next year they're gonna see like 2 years worth of a jump? And cost continuously go up?
No, we're gonna continue to do what we can to keep them even or drop them. A big portion of the textbook rental and student fees is the technology fee. And so there are things that we can do differently next time with still getting a good device. Looking at some different structures to spread that over a longer period of time to help assist.
Sounds great.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is an approval request for the 2021-22 preschool program, which includes additional classrooms and tuition.
Yeah, so this is one I'm probably most excited about. Access to high-quality preschool can make such a huge difference in students' development, and by bringing them in as preschoolers and then going on to kindergarten, they're already that much further ahead. And so we are adding on to our preschool, adding on basically an additional peer classroom, more of a community preschool classroom type. And so we have 20 spots in the AM and 20 spots in the PM. And we are essentially, obviously we have to charge tuition for that, and we're going to use the tuition to pay for the extra staffing. And so we're hiring a non-licensed teacher full-time and an IA to work within that classroom, but still work closely with Mrs. Seeger and Mrs. Schimpf. And we are able to do that beginning next school year. So we're seeking approval so we can continue to get the information out. Mrs. Sullivan has a wait list. And the second piece of that is we are seeking to increase the tuition from $9 a day to $10 a day for next school year, because again, we want to cover our costs. And Mrs. Sullivan, it is 10, correct? Okay, I just wanted to confirm that. I had another amount in my mind. But so we're just seeking board approval on both of those items so we can continue to get the good word out and expand our preschool program.
Sounds good to me.
$10 a day seems pretty good, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I make a motion to be approved. I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the preschool program. Any further discussion, questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is an approval request for a couple of 2021 summer programs, the summer band program, and the summer meal program. Mr. Gibney.
Yep, so just seeking approval to offer the summer band again, as it's been handled in the past. And then the federal government obviously extended free meals for children, and so we are seeking to continue to operate those programs out of the same buildings that we have in the past. Again, just providing our families another service and feeding those who are participating in summer school, and also feeding those who might not join summer school.
It's a great program. Okay, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I have a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the 2021 summer programs. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next is an approval request for the second reading of some updated job descriptions, central office, technology, and transportation. Mr. Gibney.
Yep, so those items were presented to you at last month for first reading, and this is a second reading and adoption for those job placement categories.
I make a motion to approve the second reading of the job descriptions.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next on the agenda is an approval request for a memorandum of understanding between GCSC and GCTA, the Teachers Association, on a stipend for extra duties caused by the COVID pandemic.
Yep.
Mr. Gibney.
Yeah, so for this memorandum of understanding, and then the next action item, the resolution, we submitted our ESSER 2 application to the DOE, and it was approved today. And so we're seeking to essentially utilize some of these funds to compensate our teachers, administrators, and our non-certified staff for duties above and beyond the normal workload. And so what that amounts to is a $1,250 stipend for our certified staff members and administrators, and a $750 stipend for our non-certified staff. And so it's my recommendation that the board approve the MOU as presented.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
You know, when will this be paid out, Mr. Gibney?
This will be paid out in June, so we're working on a June payroll.
Okay, great. Okay, can I get a motion? We already have a motion. Can I get a second to approve the memorandum of understanding for the stipend for extra
Second.
duties? Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next is the other half of that, an approval request for a resolution to provide an employee stipend for certain extra duties caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. It's basically, we just approved the memorandum, we have to approve this too.
Yes, they're two separate documents, so two separate approvals. Yep, but the same stipulations.
The first one was for
the teachers.
and
and
this
this
was
one's for the
non-certified.
non-certified staff
Yep.
and administrators.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve that with this resolution?
So moved. Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is an approval request for, looks like 6 donations we can approve all together. First is from Dave's Heating and Cooling to Greencastle High School Athletics in the amount of $1,500. The next is Putnam County Community Foundation to Greencastle High School in the amount of $678.38. The third donation is from the Jack and Shirley Dalton Trust to Tezonicus Intermediate in the amount of $2,500. The next donation is from the Mary Allison Children's Trust to Ridpath Primary in the amount of $987.80. The next donation is from Putnam County Soil and Water Conservation District to the 21st CCLC in the amount of $2,000. And the last is Putnam County Community Foundation to the 21st CCLC in the amount of $2,500.
The 21st Century CCLC, that's the after-school program.
Right. Okay, can I get a motion to approve these donations?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve all the 6 donations just mentioned. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next on the agenda is the first reading of employee handbooks, salaried classified, hourly classified, and bus drivers.
Yep, so it's just a first reading this month. We'll bring those to you for approval and adoption at the June 14th meeting.
Okay, no board action needed there. Next is in-person instruction plan for 2021-22.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. This is the stipulation with the federal stimulus funds, the ESSER 3 funds that we will be receiving from the federal government. We have 30 days from the initial notification from the federal government of our planning allocation amount that we have to essentially offer the public an opportunity to comment on our in-person instruction plan for 21-22. And so that's why this was placed on the agenda. And that's basically our stages of learning plan that is posted in our COVID-19 information tab. And that's what we are continuing to operate on. And then obviously, as we know, as has been the case throughout the entire pandemic, is we'll make adjustments and modifications throughout the way. So if we need to roll back some guidelines or policies and procedures, then we'll do that over time. So this was to allow us to meet that determination, meet that mandate, and that's something that we'll have to do every 6 months. So we'll be doing that, continuing to be, offering it for public comment in the future as well.
Okay. And no board action
Nope,
needed there.
no board action.
Okay, next item on the agenda is other business. Does anyone have any other business?
I'm excited we get to have graduation.
Yes, indeed. Anyone else? Okay, hearing none. Next item, last item on the agenda is adjournment. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion. Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for coming this evening, and be careful going home.